That will hook on the belly of the helicopter. There you go, point it out.
Right here.
Yep, that's the hook that the line will go on. The pilot will lower this hook down to pick up the capsule. They'll fly it back to the clean room, lower it down, and when he lowers it down, he'll hit a little button on his collective. It'll release that hook, and he'll fly away with the long line.
This is not a normal ride. Can you show us how you fly this for this particular mission?
Yeah, so in this helicopter, when we're doing vertical reference, that's what you call it when you have a line on. Now to see the end of the line, I'll be leaning out like this. It's an awkward position, and kind of lean out and look back because my hook's going to be right down in the middle of the helicopter. It will be this button. This button here is the remote hook, and that will keep the line on the belly, but it'll open that little green remote hook when you push it forward.
The experience of these pilots is all a part of preserving this pristine sample of ancient solar system material. And we all cannot wait to see what chemical compounds the capsule holds.
We're now joined by Robert Lightfoot from Lockheed Martin Space, representing the team that built and flew the OSIRIS-REx spacecraft for NASA. Robert, welcome.
Well, thanks for having me. What a great day. Pretty exciting.
Hey, Robert, thank you.
Pretty exciting.
So this spacecraft has many firsts and some unique tech as well. Can you tell us more about some of the new technologies that were integrated into OSIRIS-REx?
Yeah, you know, there's three that come to mind for me. The first is obviously the touch-and-go sample collector, where we had to come up with what we called the pogo stick. How we're going to hit the asteroid and collect the sample. So that was the first thing. The other thing, we had a natural feature terrain activity that we did that was really associated with, it was kind of a backup for guidance and navigation, but we ended up needing it because when we got to the asteroid, you remember there were very large boulders we didn't expect to see that we had to fly through. And then finally, probably the most unsung part was our digital twin. We created a digital twin for the spacecraft, which, if you remember, this was right in the middle of COVID.
Right.
And so being able to do the sample and use the digital twin to do all the practicing before we took the sample was probably those are the three things that come to mind for me.
And Robert, you mentioned the TAG-SAM, that critical pogo stick, and we heard that it all began with a red cup and some conversations with napkins and things. Can you tell us about that?
That's exactly what happened. It was somebody doing it was a solo cup and some kind of activity that we did there, and really think about some of the most famous missions NASA has done. That's what we've done in the past. Is we've used somebody sketched it out on a napkin, and the engineers turn it into reality, and then the scientists get their reward.
Thank you, Robert. What a great story.
What a fantastic story. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Robert, and congratulations again.
Thanks. Really proud of the team, Lockheed Martin team, and everybody for doing it.
Fantastic work.
Y'all take care.
Great job.
We're keeping our eyes on ground operations as teams work to secure the SRC, take measurements at the landing site, and get everything ready for its transit to a specially prepared clean room a few miles away. Today's landing is a big day, but to tell you the truth, NASA is starry-eyed about asteroids, and for good reason. Asteroids are time capsules for the solar system and are vital research destinations for learning about our origins and perhaps our futures. While today's events focus on returning bits of the asteroid Bennu, that's not the only asteroid in NASA's plans. Let's take a look at a glittering list of other places we're en route to visit. 1 year ago, on September 26, 2022, NASA's DART mission navigated to the small asteroid Dimorphos and deliberately crashed into it. Dimorphos is a tiny moon orbiting the asteroid Didymos, which is just a bit larger than Bennu and composed of stony material. The DART impact shortened Dimorphos's orbital period by 33 minutes, making it the first full-scale demonstration of asteroid deflection technology. This summer, while the Bennu samples were approaching Earth, technicians in Titusville, Florida were preparing the Psyche spacecraft to visit an asteroid of a different type. Psyche is named after its massive target, 16 Psyche, which is about 400 times larger than Bennu and more than 3 times as dense. The Psyche spacecraft will visit an asteroid that may consist of a significant amount of nickel-iron metal mixed with rock. It will remotely study 16 Psyche's elemental composition, topography, and gravitational and magnetic fields. The mission will provide insights into the formation of terrestrial planets like Earth. Psyche's launch window opens on October 5th. November may be sweater weather for folks in the Northern Hemisphere, but for the Lucy mission, things will just be heating up. On November 1st, Lucy will train its cameras on the main belt asteroid Dinkinesh. It will take pictures while rapidly flying by and test its ability to track asteroids during high-speed encounters. The Dinkinesh flyby will prepare Lucy for its next encounter with the main belt asteroid Donald Johanson in 2025. In 2027, Lucy will begin its long trip through the Jupiter Trojans, two swarms of primitive asteroids trapped in Jupiter's orbit that are thought to be the fossils of planet formation. As the weather starts to cool down, hold on to your hats. It's going to be an asteroid autumn to remember.
A lot of work obviously went into getting this special delivery to Earth, but our pursuit for scientific answers is just beginning. Joining us now is Danny Glavin, co-investigator on the OSIRIS-REx mission. Danny, welcome.
Thank you.
Good to have you, Danny.
It's great to have you.
We got samples.
We got them.
It's incredible.
You know, so Danny, as somebody who looks for the building blocks of life in extraterrestrial materials, what are you expecting to find in the Bennu sample?
Yeah, so I mean, we're definitely looking for the building blocks of life, and we've been studying meteorites that we think look like Bennu. And so I'd fully expect to find amino acids, the building blocks of proteins, sugars, and energy source for life. Nucleobases, right? Parts of the genetic code. So we'll see what Bennu tells us. One thing I've learned from this mission is so many surprises. Sample analysis probably won't be an exception. We're going to be surprised.
So Danny, I want to talk to you about some of the new techniques you're going to use, but I'm going to introduce a guest we have. This little guest here is actually a meteorite from Mars, and you've looked at those.
Yeah.
This is a new one. We know it's from Mars because measurements from Viking and Curiosity tells us that. But it's, you know, it's taking the ride from Mars here that Mother Nature gave it. So can you kind of talk about the techniques you'll use on those primitive materials that we have on the samples from Bennu versus those you use on these meteorites like from Mars?
Yeah, actually, you know, they're going to be some of the same techniques. We've studied Mars meteorites. Of course, one of the challenges with all meteorites is they get contaminated when they get around. You're looking for the building of blocks of life, and, you know, the contamination really makes it hard to tease out what formed in space. That's why this is so special, these Bennu samples. Pristine materials, right? We're going to be able to trust the organic results from these samples. I just can't tell you how excited I am.
Well, so our Martian gives us the training to know that, to be ready for what you have on Bennu, and to get ready from our sample return when we conduct that.
Absolutely. I mean, we've been practicing on meteorites to get ready for Bennu, and we are ready.
They're ready.
We're ready. Let's go.
Let's go. And how exciting, a piece of Mars.
Touching Mars?
Oh, my God.
You'll be touching Bennu.
Well, not with my fingers.
That's right.
Recovery operations. Helicopter 1 is approaching the clean room facility with the SRC.
All right, so you just heard we are approaching the clean room facility. Let's toss to James for an update. Take it away.
Yeah, Lauren, this is the final leg of the journey of the SRC. It has been loaded on the helicopter a few minutes ago with a long line to get those operations to bring it back to the Dugway clean room. And in just a few moments, we'll have a nice view from just outside us here as it comes back over. And I can see actually right now we have a view of that helicopter with the SRC attached below coming into view over the Dugway clean room. You can see this wonderful final view, and because we were able to transport it this way, this was determined the most efficient way to actually get this SRC to the clean room. It gives us a phenomenal final view here of that last flight, truly a parade for this sample return here, and just a stunning view of the Utah Test and Training Range, surrounding mountains, and there's that SRC beneath the helicopter with the long line. There's about 100 foot of that long line there. You heard from one of our helicopter pilots earlier that they do this very carefully. They hang out the window of that plane, or the helicopter rather, to determine the safety of that SRC, making sure that they are continuing to travel properly with this SRC to the clean room. And as we speak, team members are staged and waiting just outside that clean room, ready to get that SRC back on the ground once more. There are team members already in the clean room, gowned up. They've been waiting there all morning. They know what they need to do for this next step to get that SRC in. It's going to actually be wheeled into the clean room. They're going to go through a brief operation of cleaning off a little bit of the thermal blanketing, taking all of that off, and then wheeling the SRC and placing it into that room. They're going to remove the heat shield and the back shell of the SRC and actually get the sample canister out. And you just heard from Jim a few moments ago, the most important next step here is getting that sample canister on a nitrogen purge. And we'll remind you again, that is to keep the sample within pristine, uncontaminated from the atmospheric particles that surround us, getting that sample nice and on that nitrogen purge. Just a great view. You can see it hanging beneath our helicopter there, not spinning at all because of that gimbal that is keeping it stable. Low winds today. And that SRC is bagged in thermal blanketing inside that cargo netting. And in just a few moments, it's going to be lowered down to team members outside the clean room. The first team members to actually approach this SRC once it lands will be wearing personal protective equipment and gas masks once again. They're going to do another safety assessment of that SRC, approaching with those PPE to take gas measurements to make sure that the batteries did not heat up and outgas at all during this short flight. And then once they give the green light, there will be a brief team huddle. And then the next step of the recovery operations will continue. They'll get that SRC onto a small carrying cart, and you can see it being lowered down. The clean room, the top of the clean room, the building rather, is in view, and that SRC is coming down to the ground. Slowly being lowered. Everything about this has been carefully planned out, a very slow process. You can see a wonderful view of the SRC and the cargo netting. That metal piece on the bottom is the carrying fixture that helps team members actually carry this SRC. In just a few moments, the SRC will be back on the ground. Its second touchdown of the day, a much calmer one than we had earlier this morning. And you see two members approaching, grabbing that cargo netting to get the SRC on the ground, and in just a few seconds we will have a release of that long line. And there you have it. The SRC has arrived at the clean room. Claps from the audience in the background there. Very excited to have this back on the ground. And in just a few moments, team members will approach. A very excited celebration. Great to have it on the ground. And this is the last step of the process for today's events, getting that SRC in the clean room. In just a few moments, you'll see team members approaching and beginning to unwrap the gift within. You can see our first team members walking up with that gas mask on. This is once again for team member safety, just to make sure that the operations are continuing